Bases dropped on a new round of SDH AM. I'll get these buttons figured out sometime. John, hear you there. We've kind of figured out the key lighting bit here on day number 2. So what I've done, and I guess this technically is opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Morning Espresso, is I have commandeered, and you might be able to detect what it looks like anyway. I have commandeered lamps from around the place. And I have put them down to my sides, and hopefully that will boost the lighting here in addition to the big light on top here in the room. So that hopefully will help things out here, unless a lot of you sit there and think to it, John really looks a lot better when it's dark outside. So that might be, when it's dark in the room, then John looks a lot better. So that's kind of where we are. And thanks for dropping by, as you always do, here in Season X of everything when it comes to Soccer Down Here. So Soccer Down Here AM, John, hear you there once again. And here is the rundown for today. Morning Pars, morning Ricky. We're going to catch up with our friend Steve Cooke, who is, remember, the former head coach of Atlanta United 2, took a position in Lexington at Lex SC. We caught up with him on a couple of things, and we'll catch up with him at 9:30. With Steve, he is now the youth technical director, and he is also the head of a program that they have at Lexington SC that is really cool, and I think that is a long time coming. And it's a pet project for Steve's, and it has to do with college placement of athletes that come up through their academy, and whether or not they need to be going for a Power 4 or a Go 5 or a D2. And even if they don't want to continue to play the sport when they go to college, what's the best college for you? So it doesn't matter if it's academic, athletic, both, or one or the other. There's a program now at Lexington that Steve has piloted, and we get to catch up with him about that, his experience with the twos, his experience now in Lexington. So that's at 9:30. 10 o'clock, we catch up with South Island United forward David Yoo. Our coverage of the Oceania Pro League continues today and tomorrow at the very least. We're still efforting bigwigs as the league kicks off on Friday night their time. And so we're taking the tour of a lot of the different teams. And so we catch up with David Yoo from South Island United. You hardcores might remember David from his time with Auckland City in the Club World Cup last year. Played in all 3 group stage matches, and we get to see him in Chattanooga at the Baylor School during workouts and such. So David Yoo now is the hometown guy in Christchurch, New Zealand, who is playing for the hometown team in South Island United. And so we catch up with him in the 10 o'clock hour. Also, 10:30, we catch up with the head coach at AC Boise, Nate Miller. And they've started to make some player announcements. One that was close to the footprint, Jake Dengler, is now going to be in Boise in 2026. And so Nate's going to join us at 10:30, and he's going to break down what it's like to be getting closer and closer and closer and closer to starting something for real. Growing pains. Now you're signing folks. What do they bring to the table? 5 signings announced yesterday. So we'll go through all of that. We'll go through all the things with Nate Miller, who's going to be joining us at 10:30. In between all of that stuff, we've got the news of the morning. We've got transfers. We have a lot of other things. We also have some stuff out of the purple team, which is intriguing to say the very least. And that might be the tail end of opening kickoff this morning to get us into the worldwide news. We'll kind of drift in and out of transfer news and things like that this morning in between guests and stuff. And so it's going to be news, Steve Cooke, news, South Island United, news, Nate Miller, news, close. So that's kind of where we are this morning. We'll drift in and out of all of the things with transfer news and things like that, and reports and all of that. So hopefully if you had the chance, You got to see Maddie Cruz and Sophia Cupertino with the first training ground dispatch of the season brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente, and got to see what it was like to hear from Miguel Almiron and Latte Lot. Tata Martino is set to speak tomorrow. So that is week number 1 of training camp for Atlanta United. Training ground dispatch available on all of your social medias. And that, once again, thanks to our friends at Kaiser Permanente for all of that as we go this season. So opening kickoff this morning, and it is brought to us once again by Morning Espresso. And Morning Espresso is the early go round for us here at SDH. And what that does is it kind of gives you the lay of the land, what you might have missed a little bit in shorter form, and all of the news and notes to get you ready for us. And then we get you ready for the rest of the day. So Morning Espresso brought to us by Oglethorpe University and by Jason. And you can catch it in a bunch of different ways. You can catch it with newsletter form if you like to read things. You can catch it in audio form, video form as well on all of our social media platforms. And so Morning Espresso right now is the main sponsor for opening kickoff. And for opening kickoff this go around, we go to the purple team. And I don't know if you had the chance to hear, see, read what was going on because of all the day ones that were happening in Major League Soccer and training camps. But it was the tail end of the scrum with Oscar Pareja yesterday with the purple team that kind of raised some eyebrows a little bit. And it's our friend Mike Gramajo. And obviously, as we get closer and closer to the regular season, we'll catch up with Mike and find out about the purple team. But it was a series of questions, and Mike was in the middle of it. And we're going to play it for you, and it's about 1:45. It's worth it, and that's what we like to do. We like to sit here, and we'll give you full context of things. We'll give you full interviews and full segments and things like that. So it's about 1:45, and this is a back and forth with some of the Purple City beat writers and Purple City, folks, the Purple City journalists that cover the team. Here's the end of the press gaggle with them and Oscar Pareja. It was interesting to say the very least. So here's what happened at the tail end of the media availability yesterday with the purple team and Oscar Pareja.
But at the end of February, ready to go.
If you ask me about that, I want to answer the same. I always want more players and better ones. And probably they want a better coach too. So we always want better and better. The owners and directors are different, probably answer. But every time you ask me for players, what do you want? We want more. But the group is here. We're going to prepare. We are optimistic, and we will make sure that we work hard enough just to accomplish the things.
Considering how the season ended last year, and obviously the expectations you mentioned are going to be there high, do you feel that there's some type of pressure on you to make sure you deliver a winning team, or you deliver those expectations that are expected?
Yeah, it's normal. It's normal. I have been competing since I was 17. I don't remember a year where I don't feel the same sensation. If I don't perform, I should be out, or I will lose my job. It's normal. But I have a job. I'm here, the players, and we're going to work. But that pressure is normal. There is some other times where we achieve more objectives, and people, owners, everybody, players, coaches, we all happier. But this time that's we're tense. Why we don't change this, that. But we are compromised with this group. We are compromised with the club, with the players, and we have energy to push. But the day that we don't have that energy, nobody doesn't need to push me out. I will get out myself.
Oscar Pareja, and so pressure's there. He knows it, and it is intriguing to where Oscar says, and then they might need another coach. They might need a new coach. And so just kind of the nature of him getting it, and he understands the pressure that is there with the purple team. And so obviously, the way that they finished the season last year, it's unacceptable. He knows the pressure is there, and it will be Obviously he is ready to, have a reloaded squad, and the commitment is there, obviously, with him, and we'll see what it looks like with the purple team. But yeah, the unfiltered honesty continues of Oscar Pareja, and that is opening kickoff this morning, brought to us by our friends at Morning Espresso and Oglethorpe University. Morning Espresso, the newsletter is out and running, and you can catch up what is on Jason's mind as we go here on a Tuesday with your Tuesday thoughts. And so go ahead and lay them all out for us here this morning, and we'll let you know what's on our mind, what's on your mind as well. So let's take the tour of the rest of Major League Soccer and what happened yesterday. We actually do have some breaking news this morning, and it is the layout there for all of that. All right, so the rundown for Crew, and this technically is this, so we'll go ahead and hit this sounder. It's been a bit. News out of Columbus, and it is literally as of 6 minutes ago. Sean Zawadzki signed to a multi-year contract extension, and it was announced that the homegrown midfielder has a contract extension now through 2030. The 2023 MLS Cup champ, Leagues Cup winner in 24, 25 Crew Defender of the Year, 89 matches, 66 starts, 7+2, and just over 6,100 minutes through his first 4 MLS seasons. Also logged just under 600 minutes across 11 postseason matches and 6 starts. Issa Tall, who is set to have a conversation with the assembled media in Columbus. Tremendous rep of the Crew. So we get a quote from Issa Tall and a quote from Zawadzki: being able to continue my career with the club I've been with since I was 13 means everything to me. 27 regular season appearances in 25, logging 2,430 minutes and 2 goals. Remember the equalizer against Philadelphia. And the Olmsted Falls, Ohio native, just under 1,800 passes, completed 4th most on the team, 90 minutes in all 3 Leagues Cup matches, and it goes through his career breakdown there. Once again, remember Zawadzki earned his first senior cap for the USMNT against Slovenia about a year ago, featuring for the full 90 minutes, went to Georgetown. And so Zawadzki now has a multi-year contract extension through 2030, announced this morning. So Zawadzki staying in the fold for Columbus. Also on the board, it is San Jose. Looks like they might be closing in on Timo Werner, which is interesting because once again you're getting those big name players, and they're heading to the West Coast. Thomas Mueller didn't want to be the guy; he wanted to be a guy. That happened in Vancouver, and you saw what happened with Vancouver. Now Timo Werner looks like he is having serious discussions, might be on the verge of what it looks like to be in San Jose as a DP. And so obviously you have all of the pedigree that's there, Champions League, Europa League, DFB Pokal, and you're looking at Timo Werner, who's looking for a reset. And so he could have that opportunity with San Jose. And it would be interesting to see what that looks like with Chicho Arango, Timo Werner in San Jose. San Diego yesterday, wasting no time, they extended the contract to Mikey Veras, multi-year contract extension, terms undisclosed. And so we'll see what it looks like with Mikey Veras in San Diego after the news that came out involving Chucky Lozano. So we'll see what that looks like. So you're going to have slots available for Mikey Veras signing a contract extension. Minnesota United, no real surprise, promoting Cameron Knowles to be the head coach, and that follows Eric Ramsey's move to West Brom. West Brom, I think, is on the verge of introducing Eric Ramsey, first ever press conference as they get ready for their time in EFL Championship and trying to stay afloat in EFL Championship. So Eric Ramsey moves over, Cameron Knowles moves up, and that is the latest out of Minnesota United. So Houston Dynamo adding Agustin Buzat and Lucas Halter. We mentioned Lucas Halter yesterday. Buzat happened after we went off the air. You have both Argentine midfielder Buzat, Brazilian defender Lucas Halter. Buzat comes from Vélez Sarsfield, and Halter joins from Botafogo following Serie A Copa Libertadores titles. and perhaps Halter might actually get a paycheck that does not bounce and arrive on time. Did I say that out loud? NYCFC is bringing back Maxi Morales for next season at the age of 38. FC Cincinnati has signed forward Tom Barlow, and Barlow comes over from Chicago Fire. It's a contract that runs through 27, runs through the 26-27 season, option year after that. So it's a 2+1 for Barlow. 50 league appearances over the last 2 seasons, 5 goals, and a part of the Red Bull system. And another interesting note out of USL Championship, and close to our friend Kaylor Hodges, Jay Heaps is going to the touchline in 2026 for Birmingham Legion. So you're looking at Mark Briggs, who goes to FC Dallas, and now Jay Heaps is coming from the front office, and he is going to be now on the touchline for Birmingham. And so obviously this looks like we need to reach out and catch up with Jay and find out what's going on. So you have a team that is looking for a reset. It was a rough year in the Eastern Conference last year for our friends in Birmingham with Legion. So Jay Heaps basically is like, all right, he's going to dust himself off, and he's going to take care of business himself. And so that's where Jay Heaps is. Jay Heaps is now going to be the new head coach for Birmingham Legion coming up here in 2026. And so it is very, very interesting to see how that is going to go. And we mentioned it last week. Ricardo Clark is now officially being an assistant coach for Seattle Sounders in the 2026 season. So that's your early rundown of everything that is going on here domestically. Catching up with our friend Ben Jacobs and what is going on there with him and all the news that's fit to print. And there's a lot, trust me. So we'll get into as much of it as we can before we catch up with Steve Cooke coming up here in about 8 minutes. So here's your rundown of everything. Genoa's Jeff Ekator is drawing interest from Roma, Atalanta, and Marseille. This is international. So we kind of we've moved one lane over, and we're now talking about international stuff here for the next couple of minutes. Ekator drawing interest from Roma, Atalanta, and Marseille. Brentford made a recent inquiry, but they signed Caio Furo, and Caio Furo had his announcement, and Brentford, he had his introduction to the media there. Genoa was prepared to sanction a sale for 20 to 25 million euro either this winter or in the summer. The news on Sosa, the Spurs medical is going to take place in the next 48 hours. 13 million pounds move is all guaranteed, exclusively revealed by Edu Burgos. Sosa is going to sign until the summer of 31. Conor Gallagher's medical is going to start today. Gallagher said goodbye to players and staff at Atletico de Madrid last night. Rodrigo Betancourt, according to Spurs, has undergone surgery on his right hamstring after getting the injury against Bournemouth, expected to miss around 3 months. Manchester City is prepared to make a January bid for Mark Gahey. Talks have taken place in the last few days with Crystal Palace. Manchester City is hoping Crystal Palace's 35 million pounds plus asking price drops as the window progresses. Palace are open to a sale on the right terms. The high asking price needs to go down so they can fund a replacement. Gahey's a free agent this summer, has always been content to see out the season, pick his club. So Manchester City would have to persuade him that it's cool to go ahead and jump and that we're going to make it worth your while, basically. So keep an eye on that. Liverpool and Arsenal are keen on a summer transfer. Atletico de Madrid, Real Madrid, Bayern, and Inter Milan are others who kicked the tires. Barcelona held a meeting in which Hansi Flick was present, but they're not moving forward. Barcelona also confirmed Joao Cancelo has rejoined the club on loan from Al Hilal, and that is until the end of the season. Leeds winger Jack Harrison's close to a move to Fiorentina. Parties are discussing a loan with a buy option that could become an obligation. Leeds sources say as of Tuesday morning, still points of negotiation to finalize. Fiorentina insists an agreement is verbally in place. And Fiorentina right now, they're working their way up from the relegation zone in Serie A, and they need help. And so they thought that was a place that they could go. Gallagher, his medical is today ahead of signing that 5.5-year deal. He's been given permission to travel, and so he's going to undergo the medical later on. It also looks like there's an agreement in place for Michael Carrick to become Manchester United caretaker. His first game is going to be Manchester Derby this weekend. Congratulations. Jonathan Woodgate, Johnny Evans, Travis Binion are going to form his staff. Former England assistant manager Steve Holland also is a part of the backroom, according to Sami Mokbel. And so it is Michael Carrick on the touchline for the remainder of the season. Darren Fletcher is going to return to his role as the U18s. Johnny Evans will stay upstairs. So Let's see if I've missed anything when it comes to all of the quick stuff. Have not. So let's see what other gossip, rumor, and innuendo are out there. And yeah, I'm kind of having to. Morning, Alex. I'm having to kind of. I'm about a device down basically. So it's trying to figure out what I can look at as we go. Okay. Manchester City made contact over a deal for a Forest midfielder Elliot Anderson. Bayern Munich once again haven't given up on Gahey. That's coming from Florian Plettenberg. Roma have agreed on a loan deal with an option to buy for Villa forward Donia Malen for 28.5 million euro. That's just under 25 million pounds, about 24.6 at the going rate. Atletico de Madrid mulling over a 35 million euro or a 30 million pound offer from United to sign Marcos Llorente. That is from Fichajes. Bernardo Silva has been linked with a summer move to Como, Sky Calcio Club in 442. Manchester United, Spurs, Newcastle, all monitoring 22-year-old center back Tariq Muharemovic from Sassuolo. Tammy Abraham, currently on loan with Besiktas, wants to return to England. Looks like Villa might be a suitor there. Bournemouth have emerged as a serious contender along Lazio in the pursuit of Ferencvaros midfielder Alex Toth. And Arda Güler has no plans to leave Real Madrid despite interest from Arsenal. Monaco interested in signing Wout Faes from Leicester. He joined the Foxes from the French top flight back 3 years ago. And they are also set to compete with Ipswich and Charlton for Birmingham's Lyndon Dykes. That comes from the four-letter paper. Take the information at your own peril. Middlesbrough won the race for Villa left-back Finley Munro, and he impressed at League Two. Borough, Preston, Blackburn all sent scouts to watch Barnsley striker Davis Keeler-Dunn, 14 goals so far this season against Liverpool. He played Liverpool Monday night. Hull City defender Cody Drame has been linked with a January move away from the MKM. And Stevenage has a 24-year-old striker being looked at on the Scottish side of things. So that is a bit of your gossip, rumor, and innuendo as it looks this morning. Once again, trying to see if there's anything that I've missed. I think N'Golo Kante is set with a move back to Europe. Talks are underway for a January transfer. Right now, he is possibly Fenerbahce looking to make a move from his current club, Al Ittihad. Lucas Paquetá basically could go on strike, is what they're saying. That's the words that are being used. That he could go on strike to force a move away. No return for Marcus Rashford. Either Manchester United not planning to bring him back after Ruben Amorim has departed. Conor Gallagher, once again, we got that, saying goodbyes. Okay, so West Ham bosses are fearing Lucas Paquetá could effectively go on strike to force his way out of the club. This is from our friends at TalkSport. Paquetá, desperate to leave England, wants to return to his native Brazil, left out of the squad for the FA Cup win against QPR after reacting badly when West Ham rejected the £35 million bid from Flamengo. Nuno wants to keep him, but sources have told TalkSport far from certain Paquetá will play this weekend in what could be a double, how do we phrase this? A double manager elimination match with Spurs. Thomas Frank, I think he's on the block. Nuno on the block. So you have the possibility of a double manager elimination match this weekend. Lucas Paquetá wants out at West Ham. Also on the board, it looks like Eric Dyer might be returning. Handed a Premier League lifeline as he's been offered to West Ham. Once again, according to our friends at TalkSport, joined Bayern Munich back in January 24, and he was, remember, he was at Spurs for 10 years, moved on to Monaco at the start of 25-26 on a free, 8 starts, first 9 fixtures, and he's worn the captain's armband on 2 occasions. Hamstring and calf injuries that started in October have sidelined him, and he only made his return to action in the Coupe de France against Orléans earlier this week. So now that's your early returns on everything going on in and around transfers, overseas, signings domestically, all of that. Now that it's 9:30, we get to catch up with our friend Steve Cooke. And we caught up with Steve. He's got a rather long title with Lexington Sporting Club. Youth Technical Director and Director of what they refer to as the College Advisory Program. And in this interview with Steve, we catch up with him about this, which is a pet project with Steve Cooke, and we find out the why. It makes entirely too much sense when you think about it, because it's available in other sports. And we find out how Steve got this implemented at Lexington, what his time is like up there at Lexington, and what it's like for him in the new gig. And so here is our conversation with Steve Cooke, the guy that's using a lot of different lines on the business card. Club Youth Technical Director Youth Technical Director at Lexington Sporting Club and Director of the College Advisory Program. So here's our conversation with Cookie. We get to catch up with him about some really cool stuff up in Lexington. So, Cookie, my first question is, do you have to use both sides of the business card now because of all the different titles you have up there at Sporting Lex?
Do you know, it's interesting here. I've walked into this place and I came in really thinking I was going to be doing most of the academy and the youth stuff, which is definitely happening. We're moving it in a really good direction. But then obviously when you've been involved in professional football for a long time at different levels, I've got dragged into some of the men's stuff. I've got dragged into some of the women's stuff, and I'm really enjoying it. And the mind expansion of being involved in these different things all the time is really it's energized me so much, John. I can't even tell you how much I'm enjoying it.
Well, we're going to talk about this three-dimensional approach to Vulcan chess that's going on up there at Lex. We had Philip Goodrum on late last week, and so you mentioned the men's side of things. This is a roster. This is a roster coming into 26. They're not messing around, man. There's a lot of folks on there that people can sit there and go, yeah, know that guy, know that guy, know that guy. What's it like working with the men's side, seeing all this?
Yeah, we're really pleased with the work, and Sam Doer, the sporting director, has really done a great job in the off season. Obviously, I've been involved in much of that work, and I think when you're bringing in players with that level of experience, that level of quality, players who've done it year in, year out at the level we're talking, you've got to be energized and you've got to be really excited about the start of the season. But as I would warn everybody that, you know, all teams begin at the beginning of the year, and no matter what they've done before on paper, they've got to come together, they've got to gel, they've got to work really hard. We've got a new coach, which means fresh ideas and a fresh outlook on things for the players, but there's no doubt we've had an incredibly good off season, and now let's hope at the beginning here we can put it together really well.
And you know, it isn't just that first team men's side; it's the women that are in USLW. It's you know, they're in the Super League and all of these different aspects of it. I want to get into the USLA for the alphabet soup that's attached. What's it like for you to sit there and have an academy that's been doing gangbusters at the U20 level?
Yeah, we've done exceptionally well, and led by the head coach Quinn Huddle, it's gone really well. And I think once, obviously, results wise, we did exceptionally well. We made the USL Academy finals. We're one of the youngest teams in it. A lot of our homegrown players playing, and they ended up finishing third in that event, in a national event. But more importantly, we've helped some players really move along the pathway, and these might have been a group of players that, you know, had been pros somewhere else before and came in and you know, have reignited their careers and now going to get contracts with us or elsewhere. We've got some young homegrown players. We started a 15-year-old in the academy finals, and he's done exceptionally well. But we're really proud of this group, because it is literally that reserve team environment that, you know, I was kind of looking and working in before with Atlanta United, and really helping players along the pathway. And it's not always a team that you know, where you've got your 20 players, 24 players, and you work hard with that same group every day. Different players come in, whether they be pros or out of college even, and we've got young players coming through the pathway. They've done really well, and now the next challenge is to get them ingrained with the first team and hopefully get them professional minutes in the course of the year.
What were some of the lessons that you learned here in Atlanta within the Atlanta United organization that have helped you out go and just start off with gangbusters up there in Lexington?
Well, I think one of the big things is, obviously, my role as a technical director is different than it would have been there as the head coach. And you know, I empathize greatly with our head coach here, who, you know, he wants to put that team together and he wants it to be that smooth sailing ship. But, you know, when first team players come down and need minutes, they're going to be playing. And when you might, for example, see a 15-year-old who isn't quite as effective today as the 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old, but we need to give those high potential players those kinds of minutes and really push those players through. And really, I think the experience that not just at Atlanta United, but Seattle Sounders as well and Colorado Rapids is really putting those young players in an environment where they can be successful, and dipping them in, whether they be training up or playing up, is always a conversation. But then really, I think, is looking at them, not only their performance today, but the potential they have in the future as well, and really making sure that we put them in at the right time. It's always a challenge. It's never an easy picture, as you know from your coverage of Atlanta United there. It's always a conversation every day about who's ready and who's not ready. But I'm really enjoying it, and the players have bought into the idea of that professional reserve team, and they're doing exceptionally well.
And it's interesting, and for those that may not necessarily know, there has been a tremendous investment in infrastructure and resources, and just the massive amount of fields that are available to anything that's associated with Lex SC. What's it like for you to see this kind of investment in, and I'll go ahead and use quotes and put a dollar in the jar for the first time in 26, in a non-traditional soccer market? There you go.
No, I understand. When I first came in and chatted to the guys here, the first thing you notice is the incredible facility, and Bill Shively, Donna Shively, Stephen Dowerhair as owners, they've done an incredible job of not only building a stadium for the first team to play in, but now a grass field for the first team to train in, men's and women's, and then 7 AstroTurf fields, and around it there is some real estate that will be built out over time here. They're so invested, and they've been so not just invested in terms of money, but time and the energy that it takes to make sure a soccer club not only starts moving in the right direction, but continues to run in the right direction. And the first thing I noticed was the facility, then an incredibly kind group of people. I'm really grateful to be here working with people, and my role now is obviously less team building and it's more club building. And I can assure you that the people here in Lexington have built something for generations to come, and I don't see that stopping. And I only see it going higher and higher level all the time.
Okay, so then I'll bite. The differences between team building and club building. I mean, I know that those are two different 4-letter words. They're kind of intermingled at the same time. But what are the inherent differences in building a team versus building a club three-dimensionally?
Yeah, I think, look, I've been a head coach in MLS. I've been a head coach in USL as well. And I think once you're the head coach, obviously your outlook on a group seems to be a little bit more shorter term. You have a game on Saturday, you have a game the following Saturday. You've got a short season of let's say 30 odd games where you're really planning for. And obviously when you look at players as a head coach, oftentimes you look at them as to what can they do for me in the next short period of time. But then when you're looking at building a club, and not just a pathway for players, but a pathway for coaches, a pathway for business people, executives, and really making sure that everybody learns and grows and has an opportunity to improve their lives and their careers. The club building piece is a little bit more patient. It's a little bit more long term. You might have to make decisions today that are only going to pay off in 3 to 5 years. And when you're a head coach, as there is always a view forwards of looking forwards, but a lot of the decisions you make as a head coach or as an assistant coach for that matter typically are much shorter term. And I think that's the difference between the team building philosophy and the role I'm in right now, which is really building a whole club from a technical standpoint.
From your exposure and experience right now, how is Kentucky / Ohio / Indiana, that little section of real estate that you're in, how is it as a soccer area, a soccer market, embracing the sport? What's been your feedback been?
I think growing, and you're right. We're uniquely placed. 5 hours drive from Atlanta. A few hours drive from Nashville, and then just north of us, Cincinnati, an hour, and Indianapolis. Where Indy 11 are. That's not a long drive either. And you look at us, we're kind of not even too far from Chicago, really, about 4 hours drive. So we're kind of in the middle of all this hotbed of not only talent from a player perspective, but you look at the MLS clubs in that little area and the USL clubs as well in that area. There's so many of us, working hard and trying to build the soccer. It isn't you know, a large metropolitan area like Atlanta or like Seattle or Los Angeles and New York City. So we, I think, have to maximize the level of the players that we have. And we have to, you know, if we see that one or two players that really have a high level future, we have to put so much into those one or two or three players so that we can literally take them as far along as we possibly can. So for us, it's more looking for that one or two individuals that we really believe we can push forward, and providing a great soccer environment for the masses as well at the youth soccer end, so that they stay in the game long enough that they can become good. And then obviously in the large metros, you know, you've got so many players that sometimes you don't need to do great work, because the one or two are always going to come through and make it regardless. So for us, it's a little bit more patient, I would say. It's a little bit more where we have to pick the right ones to invest so much in. And that in and of itself is a big challenge. But being in this area has been really interesting. I've never lived in this area before, and never really worked too much in this area. But there's a lot of good players. And obviously been surrounded by all the MLS clubs. It means that sometimes it's a challenge to keep some of those players. But I think the better we do, the more we build things correctly, the more we show the vision of having a long-term player development pathway into professional football for men and for women. I think there's every chance that we can not only attract the best players, but we can keep them and send them into professional football with our organization.
Okay, so I have both titles written down, and this is why at the beginning I was kind of joking about using both sides of the index card. So Grand Exalted Poobah USL Academy, I made up that title anyway, with the U20s are concerned. Program Director, College Advisory Program. I thought this was really interesting. Was this a part of the package when they brought you up there out of the blocks, or was this something that has kind of been created out of whole cloth when you got there?
Yeah, it was never mentioned to me at all. And it's one of the things that when I came in, I realized that we've got this large youth foundation, this base of youth players that you know, might have not have had the opportunity to even understand what the college system looked like. I'm a big believer in the college system. Obviously, I've worked in professional soccer, and we've signed young players and basically prevented them from going to college. But I think one of the big things about the college landscape in this country is that it keeps these young players, you know, where I'm from originally, you know, at 18, 19, 20, there are these cutoffs, and you basically leave the game and you go non-league and lower level football. But in this country, you're able to stay in the game for much longer. You're able to get an education while you're doing it. And I really, really like that way of looking at it. And I think when you look at Atlanta United's first team and first teams all across MLS, and certainly in USL, there are a lot of players that have come later into professional soccer via that pathway. So one of the things I really wanted to do is really be a guide and a help. It's a college advisory program. It's not a placement program. Giving young people and their families the best possible advice, not only in what college soccer looks like, but which program might fit them based on their needs. And some people, you know, want to go to a big school with a big football program and in a big city life. Some people, they're better suited to a smaller lifestyle with more personal attention to them. Some players now want to go and play soccer immediately straight away out of their youth soccer, and they want to go to college and play straight away. I think with the transfer portal now and NIL, it's a changing landscape really, really quickly. And our job is to really stay as connected with you know, some of the changes that are going on, so that our families can get the best advice possible. And it's been a whirlwind getting it together. We've got some amazing resources on our webpage that I think players from all over the place could take a look at and see the kind of resources that we've given to our players in a really quick way. And it's not just me. I've got help from a lot of different people here, but it was one of the passion projects that I had. That not only saying, we put these players into college, but also really, really helping the families. And that might be down to financial aid. It might be down to, you know, picking the right academic place for your child based on their strengths. And it's been a real thrill to get it off the ground. We have a lot of work to do to make it the best it possibly can be, but I think it's going to be a really, really good program, John, in the years ahead. And I'm very proud of it. But I'm more happy that the number of people that I work with that really came together energetically to put that on the map straight away. You know, I can't speak highly enough of everybody here.
Because when you have a program like, when you have any kind of program that's attached to a collegiate sport, obviously NIL makes things different, and I mean it's been different like even in the last year, not
Yeah.
just 2 or 5. When it comes to the advisory aspect of it, I imagine that there's a lot of mentoring that goes along with it as well, where you're sitting there and it's like, okay, well, you're the parent and the student athlete might sit there and say, well, I want to do this. And then there's that feedback that you and those associated with the program are giving. That's like, well, maybe you should think about this too. How much of that mentoring and guiding aspect is there in this give and take of trying to figure out what's best for that athlete going forward?
Well, that's the big piece, John. We've got resources. They can all take a look on the website and look at that. But then following up from that, I meet with all the families, and we have other staff members as well who meet with the families, and we ask them certain questions about what their wants are, what their needs are, what they would like to see their college experience look like. And sometimes it's actually giving a dose of reality, and sometimes it's maybe pushing somebody into a more academic road than they otherwise would have. I think a lot of our players, like everywhere else, think soccer, and forget sometimes the academic piece of that. So it has been mentorship. It has been giving people the reality. And I think things like NIL do cloud it a little bit in that most soccer players are not going to get truly affluent from being around the college programming. But I think now with the transfer portal, even if you make the wrong choice in the beginning, it's okay. You can transfer out, and I think that's okay as well. So it really has been this mentorship program and really helping families, because the families are nervous as well. Mums and dads, in many cases, they've not been through this before with any young people, and the landscape has changed so much from when they went to school as well. So it's just a different beast these days, and I think it's a rapidly changing environment. And I've really enjoyed getting to know the players and their families and guiding them in this regard. And we're having great success, and long may that continue.
How nimble do you and the staff up there have to be, knowing that the portal can be as chaotic and as trickle down as it gets? Because if you look at signing day, then you know that programs are going to be chasing after all the blue bloods and the 5 stars, or however you want to phrase it. Then from there, you'll see the athletes that thought they had a place. Then they'll portal down to either another Power 4 or a group of 6. Then those will trickle down to do the 1AA or the FCS Division II. How prevalent are we talking about, and how nimble do you guys have to be about navigating this landscape and knowing the calendar? And okay, so here's your deadline here. We've got to figure this out. Okay, now you're going here. How nimble do you guys have to be?
Yeah, we have to be nimble. I mean, most of our young players at the moment, they typically if you ask them, they have that vision of going to a place for 4 years, staying there, continuing with their education, and graduating from that program with a degree. That is fairly standard. But for many, many reasons, as 18-year-olds make mistakes on choices, and in fact, college coaches make mistakes, or it isn't quite the fit, or the coach is changed during their time. And I'm a big supporter of the transfer portal. I think nobody has to be beholden to that one choice they made when they were 17 years old or so. And I think sometimes it just works out that way, that people need a change. Most of the time, you would hope that is a progression, John, where they go into it might be that financially they have to choose a certain school, and then somebody else gives them a different scholarship option somewhere else, and it's a progression. But for some players, they go in and think they're going to play every minute of every game at the school that they chose. It might be an ACC school, for example, and then we have to say, look, the player's not happy, and we have to help them. But one thing we also do is we're regularly in touch with college coaches, saying, you really need to take a look at this player. Great person, their academics are good, they've got a lot of family support, good soccer player. We think it's a fit for your school, and we believe that you're a fit for that family as well, which is, I think it's a two-way street. And it's interesting with the portal. I've heard a lot of college coaches sometimes moan about, we want to keep the players and all the rest of it, and then you see 8 of 9 players that are new to the program coming from the portal. So I think all of us are learning in this new environment to not only embrace it, but use it for what we can, what our young players can benefit from. And I think it's just another piece, like you've been in this profession a long time, John. It's an ever-changing thing, and I think if you get too rigid in your approach, you're going to struggle. And for us, the fluidity of the portal and NIL and the ever-changing college landscape is really important, especially as that fits into what we're trying to achieve as a professional soccer club, because I still believe that many of our young players have the ability to go to college, get 4 good years or 2 good years, 3 good years, and then come back and return to professional soccer. And sometimes, hopefully, that Lexington Sporting Club are going to be the benefactors of that.
How old is the CAP? How old a project is this?
Well, I started it when I came in, so this is now a program that I came in and said, you know, we really should put something in place. It's something that I've done before, and it's something that I've always been familiar with, but this particular club didn't have anything really in place other than well-meaning coaches helping really good people trying to navigate the process. But what we've got now is a real program and a real way of working, so that all of our families feel that they've got support, and they feel that they can not only navigate the system, but they can give their children the best advice that it's possible to give. And some of that might be, you know, we can't afford that, and we have to navigate that. And I think one of the big things we've been able to do, John, via some of the questions and some of the mentorship, is get families together in the same room so that they're having conversations about difficult subjects, like, for example, how on earth are we going to pay for this astronomical cost of education in the USA? And so some of those questions that we ask actually get the families talking together around the dinner table, which I think is probably the biggest needed thing of all.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is because I didn't know how much of a wake-up call it was for everyone there when the program came online, when you came there, to even as we're talking today, how much everyone there has learned from beginning to now, and how much of an eye-opener it was in that small space.
I think it's been an eye-opener for everybody to say, you know, probably gives a lot of people a kick up the backside and saying this is what a professional soccer club that are also invested in youth soccer, and not just a high-end academy, but the youth soccer pieces where we have players who might not be destined to be professional players or even have a desire to be professional players. But what we can do is we can really help them, not only with their education moving forward and enjoying that, but we can help them with their lives. You know, these young people are going to be alive and on the planet and being good citizens far longer than any soccer career is going to be. So I think one of our obligations, not only to this community, but the soccer community in general, is not just to look at it as a professional team and pulling off the best players, but really, how can we help these young people become better people, better human beings to each other, and really navigating along the pathway. And if that means we can get some people into colleges and get a degree and really have a great life. We've got a young man recently who's gone to a university on basically a full ride, first generation student, and I'll tell you something, he's going to change not only his life but his family's lives, and generations of people in his family. He's going to really change their lives. So I think that is something that I'm probably most grateful to be involved with.
One more question for you, and it has to do with something that you just mentioned, where all of the families get those opportunities to kind of sit together, break bread, just have a cup of coffee or a little whatever. What's it like to have them see that kind of feedback and have that kind of interaction with one another, so they know that they're not alone in this process?
Yeah, some of the conversations we have, John, as you know, you got to have a degree of honesty, and they can be uncomfortable, and some are, you're actually, at times I find myself pushing people on into a much higher level than they thought they might be able to get to, because they wouldn't have heard of certain things. And that might be academics, or it might be the athletic piece as well. But I think, the impact that we can have for, one of the things I've talked to you many times about is the impact that we have on the people that we work with, and not just as players, not just because of what they can do today on a soccer field, not because of what they keep giving us from an athletic perspective. I think it's more about how can we serve them and help them with their lives, with their careers, and really make sure that we don't smooth that pathway. We want them to have difficulties. We want them to have the obstacles, but we want to give them the options along the pathway that really help them. And this new role for me, obviously coming from Atlanta United, has enabled me to be involved in many new things. Obviously, I still retain the love and the desire to be involved in the professional side, and I love that piece. But the academy and the youth side has really opened my eyes to just the impact we can make for families and young people moving forward, and not just on the field, but off the field as well.
Lexington Sporting Club Youth Technical Director and Director of the College Advisory Program, our dear friend Steve Cooke. It is great to see you, my friend, and it's great to see you wearing different colors and all the success that's going on there. Great to see you, my friend. You know, the door is always open. It'll be great to see how things continue to develop with the CAP specifically. And you know that you can knock on the door anytime. You know where the key is under the mat. You know how to. You know the code on the garage door. You can hop in anytime. It's great to see you.
I do indeed, John. Thanks so much, and keep up the great work you're all doing and growing the game down there. It's absolutely fantastic.
Our buddy Steve Cooke, and it was great to catch up with him and find out what is going on there at Lexington SC when it comes to the youth side and the CAP, which is I'm hoping that Steve's phone is blowing up over it, and that a lot of folks can sit there and get advice from Steve about what's going on. Yes, I'm still trying to adjust my key light situation here. So Steve Cooke, great to catch up with him and find out what's going on there at Lex. So obviously we're going to keep an eye on what's going on there all season long. Caught up with Philip Goodrum last week, caught up with Steve Cooke today on the show, and that first exhibition game, the first preseason game for Atlanta United just happens to be at the tail end of the month, and it is going to be at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground involving Lex. And so we'll see how many of our friends from Lex make the trip down, and we'll have obviously full coverage of that for you at the tail end of the month for Atlanta United here on the SDH network. Okay, let me say hi to everybody before we go into hour number 2 and visit Christchurch, New Zealand, and Boise, Idaho. That's correct. Christchurch, New Zealand, and Boise, Idaho. We'll get into Christchurch, New Zealand in a sec. Morning, David. Morning, Forecard. Morning, Lokeville. And morning, Alex. Morning, Ricky. And morning, Pars. And I know that there's a lot of you out there this morning that are hanging out with us, not quite in the Twitch pitch yet. Thanks for dropping by and being a part of SDH AM. If this is your first time, welcome. We are here from 9:05 a.m. Eastern time until 11 whenever, and we're Turner time kids. So I don't know how many of you are of that vintage where Ted Turner decided that he wanted to slide his TV schedule 5 minutes over, and because of that, we grew up in that. Braves games were at 7:05 and 7:35 at home at Fulton County Stadium and places like that. So we decided when we came on after a couple of years at 9 o'clock, we were like, yeah, let's go 9:05. And so now that we are in season 10, so I guess technically this is SDHX, the SDH AM X version. So it is it's our 10th season of helping kind of let everybody know what's going on in the beautiful game. And we couldn't have done it without you all this time. So SDHX 9:05 to 11:05. Thanks for coming by, especially our visitors from Lexington who wanted to drop in and catch up and see what our conversation was like with Steve Cooke. So that's where we go with all of that. The show itself is on YouTube Live. It is on the 280 character app live, and it is also live on Twitch at twitch.tv/soccerdown here, and it's archived in those places. And it's archived on our YouTube channel. So you can see this. If you miss a part of the show, you can go back and watch it in its entirety. You can scrub all the way through, find your favorite segment, and you find your favorite interview. You can watch it there. Eventually, the show is knocked into a podcast, so you can listen to the audio form, usually middle of the afternoon. And the individual guest segments, we end up with, the segments themselves are on your favorite podcatcher. It starts on Spreaker, and it ends up with iHeart and Apple and all those other places. But Spreaker is our main place, but then it goes out to all the other podcatchers as well. And Ropes, you have given me a fantastic idea. I need to find that drop. Jeremy Piven and Grosse Point Blank talking to John Cusack. 10 years, man. 10 years. I need to find that drop. So thank you for reminding me about that. I'm going to write, actually, before I forget, because you know my brain. All right, so 10 years drop. Jeremy Piven, Grosse Point Blank. I need that drop. Nicely done, Ropes. Thank you very much. Need to add that to the stacks. Okay. All right, let's get you into another couple of the sponsor elements and our thank yous there, and let you know what's going on, where to watch, and where to watch and how to watch it. Brought to us by our friends at Fanatis. FNTZ.co/soccer down here. That link is important. It helps them, helps us, and helps you by adding more matches to everything you're already watching. With Fanatis, you get BN Sports. You get all the BNs, which means you get AFCON, along with Teise, matches from Argentina, more leagues from South America, Liga 1 Max Pro, all in one place. One subscription, one home, FNTZ.co/soccer down here for Fanatis. What to watch, where to watch it today. FS2, the league we neither condone, endorse, nor promote, has a match at 12:30. And if the Bayou-Marseille match in the French Cup at 3 o'clock can match what happened with Paris FC and PSG, you're in for a lot of shenanigans. Paris FC wins. PSG is out of the French Cup. The door is open for everybody else. Fox Deportes, 10 o'clock, Liga MX. It is FC Juarez and Chivas, and they're also simulcasting the match at 12:30. 2 to NA has your midweek doubleheader. Pachuca Leon is at 8. Cruz Azul and Atlas is at 10. On the plus, it's the Bundesliga. Stuttgart and Frankfurt at 12:20. 2:20, Mainz, Heidenheim, Hamburger, Leverkusen, Borussia Dortmund, Werder Bremen. FoxSports.com has the game at 12:30, the French Cup at 3, and the back end of the Liga MX doubleheader with Juarez and Guadalajara. Paramount Plus has League Cup at 3 o'clock, Newcastle and Manchester City, as well as Coppa Italia with Roma and Torino. That is at 3 o'clock as well. All right, it is after 10 o'clock. Head coach for AC Boise, Nate Miller, is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. But before we go there, it's time to look at our coverage as it continues for the OFC Pro League, the Oceania Football Confederation. Their Pro League kicks off this weekend. First time ever, like league created. They've been trying to get it done for a long time. They have the 8 clubs, and they're getting ready to go. And so this week we are catching up with individuals, trying to catch up with as many clubs in the league office as we can and let you know what's going on there. We caught up with Solomon Kings. Yesterday we caught up with we caught up with our friends. Where were we yesterday? We were doing a bunch of interviews yesterday is what we were doing. So that's going to help us out today and tomorrow. So it is South Island United. I did 3 interviews yesterday, and I was trying to figure out, okay, when was it? So literally us to talk to Christchurch, New Zealand in the middle of our afternoon is their morning. And so they're like 15 hours ahead, and they were getting ready for practice. And so South Island United is already jumping into a rivalry in the league. And since they are based in Christchurch and they are on the South Island of New Zealand, it's an opportunity for a rivalry. So tomorrow we get the other half of the rivalry against Auckland FC. But today we get to catch up with one of the players. And for those of you that remember your Club World Cup, like I said, if you were a real football sicko and followed along as we did with our coverage of Auckland City, David Yoo was one of the forwards for Auckland City. He is now back home, and he is a forward for South Island United. And it's the hometown guy with the hometown team. And so David Yoo caught up with us before he got to sprint off to practice. Their time yesterday morning, our time middle of the afternoon yesterday. And so as our coverage of the Oceania Pro League continues, as they get ready for the grand unveiling this weekend, here's our conversation with David Yoo, the hometown guy, getting to play for the hometown team. So, David, you're getting ready for practice, and if the math is correct, I think you're 15 hours ahead of me as we're talking. First and foremost, how does it feel to be this close to starting something that is absolutely new, and you're going from ground zero and starting something like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite surreal, really. I think it's very there's a lot of unknowns still. Obviously, with being a brand new team, but also being a brand new league, so there's a lot of stuff that's, these stuff that we're not sure about or stuff like that, or we'll start to getting to know. But it's obviously very exciting, it's an exciting moment for the club here in the South Island, and also I think in general in Oceania. I think obviously being a brand new league in Oceania, being the first professional league in Oceania, it's there's never been a professional league in this region before. So I think it's obviously very exciting for all the countries and the region itself.
What has it been like? Has the gravity hit you of, wow, I'm a part of something that is big for not just my home country or, soccer in general, but for the entire Confederation and for Oceania? Did that gravity hit you at any point of like, man, I really am a part of something here?
Yeah, I think when I decided to sign for South Island United, and when all the media was coming out of what the league's going to look like, I think it gets you, how big the tournament is going to be, and hopefully it can be a successful one for our team in the South Island. But obviously, I think, obviously being these are so many teams in different regions of the Oceania region, I think it's quite a unique league, where it's not a league in just one country. So I think it's a unique league itself, and to be able to travel to different countries, experience different cultures, I think it's a unique experience for myself and everyone involved, and which we're all looking forward to.
Yeah, and we've caught up with the Solomon Islands franchise and how you're doing hub system, and everybody's going to Brisbane, and you're like you're going here, you're hubbing and all this kind of stuff. And it is a very unique way of doing something, because last time I checked, going from, say, Wellington to Papua New Guinea, as an example, is not where you can hop into an Uber and just go. I mean, it's something where you've got to kind of take things into consideration. For someone who's never seen football in Oceania, what are we missing out on by not following what's going on down there in general, whether it's national teams or leagues or pro play? What are we missing out on?
Yeah, I think there's just there hasn't been a lot of coverage yet in that region. I think there's a lot of talent. When I went away with Auckland City last year, we went to the Solomon Islands for the OFC Champions League, and you can see that there's a real group of talented players in those regions that not many people know about, because there's not really an opportunity for them to showcase themselves on the big stage. And I think this brand new tournament obviously helps that, where players can make the next step. And obviously there's going to be a lot more people watching our league now, obviously being the first professional league in the region. So I think there's a lot of talent in there that hasn't been how should I say it? Like, there's a lot of talent that hasn't been noticed by a lot of people, really. But I think it's exciting. It's an exciting opportunity for the players, where they can showcase themselves. I obviously witnessed it firsthand, going to America last year with Auckland City in the Club World Cup. So I think it just shows what you can achieve if you can perform well.
I was going to ask, what do you think you learned about yourself, not necessarily just as a player, but as a person, being a part of a Club World Cup, where you're representing a club, you're representing your country and your region, you're doing it on the grandest stage possible. What did you learn about yourself that you think will help you in this process, being a part of this league from scratch?
Yeah, I think I learned a lot myself. I think we learned, what football is in the world stage. Obviously coming from a small region where football's quite small, but we all know that football's the biggest sport in the world, and playing against the world's best players, the best teams in the world. It's eye-opening. And it's obviously a dream come true for myself and a lot of the players that went last year, and it just opens your eyes on what you can achieve, if you work hard. And and the good thing about this league is that the pathway for the next Club World Cup is through this new Oceania Pro League. So exciting. You want to, like myself, I want to get back to that stage where you can play in that big tournaments.
What's it like representing your home region in something like this? Because in leagues, you can be reassigned, you go to point A, point B, farthest point away, that kind of a thing. What's it like to be there and do this for you? Basically, it's a home game for you, and it's home games for you, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it's a proud moment, like to be able to play professional football in front of your friends and family. I grew up in Christchurch, so I'm a local boy. So, I never really got the chance to play professional football in front of my friends and family. So, I think it's a proud moment for myself, for my family and friends, where they can come and watch us play. And I think it's just it's good for the region, and the country itself. The more professional teams, I think the higher level of football, we can develop, the players that they can develop, they'll get better, and it's good for the next generation. The more professional football teams there are, it's the better.
How many folks are hitting you up for tickets for future home matches and things like that? Are like, hey man, then hit you in the ribs or anything like that? Who's hitting you up for tickets for like the home opener when that happens?
Yeah, I mean, quite a bit. Obviously, unfortunately, the first game is in Auckland, so it's not quite a home match. But I have obviously played in Auckland last year, so I've got quite a few friends and that will be coming to the game. So hopefully we can get a good crowd, and obviously it's at a big stadium, the biggest one in New Zealand. So we're all looking forward to it. It's not long now, so I think we're all just excited to kick off.
What's the expectation for the club there at South Island? What do you guys want to accomplish first season?
Yeah, I think it's we obviously want to be a successful team, and obviously there's a lot of unknowns. So we're not quite sure how who's going to line up for it. It's quite hard to analyze. For example, who's playing for who, how they're going to play. What kind of style they're going to play. But I think that's the same for every team. So which can make it a bit exciting, I guess. But we've got high standards for ourselves as individuals and also a team. I think we obviously want to win the competition. We believe we've got a team that is capable to be right up there fighting for the OFC Pro League. And I think we have to take it game by game. It's going to be a long season with a lot of games in a short space of time. So I think obviously injuries and stuff like that will play a factor. So hopefully we'll be right up there come around May.
Well, and it's like there are times where there could be in these hub situations, 3 matches in 10 days and stuff like that. When it comes to taking care of yourself, are you doing it any differently knowing that this stuff is coming up? Or is it going to be you've got your knowledge base, and when you get into those situations, I'll kind of navigate it there with what I already know? Or are you already approaching it a little differently maybe?
Yeah, I think you have to approach it a little bit differently. Obviously we're playing 3 games in roughly 10 days. So it's not easy. And I think the main key is obviously recovery. I think that's going to be a key factor for not just ourselves, but for every other team in this competition. So I think obviously, recovery, you need to get your protein shakes in, need to get your ice baths in. And I think all those small details, those small margins that I believe make a difference when it comes to playing so many games in a short space of time. So I think obviously we've got people in the club and now where, they can help us with that, maximize our recovery. So yeah, I think it's just adding small details to whatever we already know.
And when you're going to be out there, how would you best describe your game and how it integrates into what Coach Rob is looking for when it comes to you out there on offense? What do you bring to the table, and how do you see it integrating with what Coach Sherman wants to do there at South Island?
Yeah, I think I see myself as quite a creative player. Like to create goals, makes us score goals as well. So I think I can, I've been able to play in multiple positions throughout my career so far. So I think I got a good understanding of, how to play the game. Well, I'll hope so. But yeah, so I think I'm able to play in different positions where the gaffer wants to play me and how he sees football. So I'm excited to play. I've been with, we've been training for a couple of weeks now. So I think I understand, what he wants from me. And, essentially just creating goals, scoring goals, making assists. I think that's the role that I have in this team. And obviously I'm looking forward to playing in this team and under him.
Stylistically, what is Gaffer looking for? What for those that would be hopping in and watching these matches for the first time? what stylistically is going to be out there for South Island? What kind of a game should we be expecting with you scoring 98 goals in 24 minutes?
Yeah, hopefully. But I think he's a very attacking minded coach. He wants to score goals. He wants to entertain the fans, and I think that's the best part about him. He doesn't want to just. He's not a coach that just wants to defend and maybe score one goal and try to hold on to that lead. He wants to score goals. He wants to score as many goals as possible, but also be defensively sound. So we want to concede. Not concede as much as possible, but also score as many possible. And the good thing about Rob is, he's no, it's not just there's not just one style to him. It's these different ways of scoring goals, and I think that's the good thing about him, where there's multiple ways of scoring goals, and I think that's the most exciting part about it.
All right, so who's your first matchup against? Auckland
FC. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So, what's study hall been like getting ready for Auckland? I know that you guys buried in books and PowerPoint presentations and all those kinds of things. What's study hall been like getting ready for this first matchup?
Yeah, I think it's no different to, analyzing any team really, but the only difference is they've never played a game as well. So we don't really, we're not quite sure how they line up or what kind of style they play, but we've got a rough idea of what they're going to come up with and how they're going to play and what players are going to play. So, we've got a rough idea, and I think it just, at the end of the day, it's, players have to make decisions on game day, and you need to figure out on the spot really if things change and if there's some unexpected stuff that we didn't know about before the game. But we've done our homework. I think we'll be well prepared for the first game.
And we are looking forward to it. As always, it is great to catch up and find out what's going on down there, and we cannot wait to have this thing kicking off from scratch. And cannot thank you for taking time out as you're heading out to practice to find out what's going on there down there at South Island. It's going to be a proud moment for the family, proud moment for you that you get to be the hometown guy with the hometown team. Thanks a lot, David. We really appreciate it. Be safe and go get to practice. And I know that you didn't want to give away any state secrets for what you've been studying against Auckland. I get it. I understand. Just be safe, have fun, and we'll see you out there on the debut.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
David Yoo, forward for South Island United, and they are getting ready as our coverage of the beginning of OFC Pro League begins, and they get a rivalry out of the blocks. David was born, he was raised in Christchurch, New Zealand, and that's the South Island, thus South Island United. They're going to be playing Auckland FC. We're going to catch up with Auckland FC's Director of Football, Terry McFlynn, tomorrow in the 10 o'clock hour. And out of the blocks, you get Auckland FC, and they are part of the Black Knight ownership group. So that's a Bill Foley run operation. So you've got Auckland FC, South Island United, rivalry, North Island, South Island, New Zealand. That's going to be match day 1 as a part of the grid with the 4 matches. So it literally is one of those things where it's like, okay, we'll pair the 2 of you up together. So you get rivalry out of the blocks with that matchup. Also, news from one of the franchises is that the Vanuatu franchise is going to, they've had their coach and GM resign before even the first match day. There was a difference in philosophy, and it was posted on the club's social media this morning that they will be looking for a coach and a GM heading into match day 1. But great to catch up with David Yoo and find out what it was like for him, to play at Auckland City last year and be a part of Club World Cup, what you learn in those kinds of situations, and then working your way forward to where you are now, where you're back home, and you got a rivalry game out of the blocks. And so it's a chance for David to play at home, literally play at home, and be ready for something that is absolutely brand new with the OFC Pro League coming up here at the end of the week. Like I said, tomorrow we're going to catch up with Director of Football Terry McFlynn for Auckland FC, and we'll find out what's on his mind as they get ready for everything, starting everything from scratch. And we're efforting some other interviews from other clubs and front office and league front office and things like that. And we'll try to effort those for you here for the remainder of the week. So Friday local time, So that would be like late Thursday night our time, if my math is right. I think it's 14 or 15 hours. And so if it's nighttime there, it's like early morning here. So it'd be like overnight here for OFC Pro when they start. It would be like so Friday night. So Friday night would be very, very early Friday morning our time, if my math is correct. So that's OFC Pro League, and they're getting ready for things. And we're going to continue. We're going to keep an eye on them all season long. We're going to go back for progress reports and things. One quick note for those of you that might remember your Atlanta United 2 roster from last year, Ronan Wynn is now a part of Auckland. And so getting to keep an eye on Ronan. For those of you who are Atlanta United 2 supporters and Atlanta United fans, you can follow along with Auckland City, or you can follow along with Auckland FC, and you can keep an eye on Ronan Wynn this season in OFC Pro. Once again, thanks for dropping by this morning. Nate Miller, the head coach of AC Boise, coming up in about 10 minutes, and we'll discuss the build with him and what it's been like for him to get to this particular point. Another couple of sponsors I want to introduce you to and thank. Once again, you might have seen our collaboration with our friends at Grady Baby at grady-baby.com. The Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta line, available as a t-shirt or a sweatshirt, red or black. About more than just gear. Proceeds from the campaign go directly toward growing the game through middle school soccer programs attached to the Atlanta public school system. Support the message, support the game. Find it at grady-baby.com. And then also, you know about our relationship with the last country on the planet to start a national soccer program, the Marshall Islands. You can support the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation by visiting their website, picking up some of their incredible gear, including the scarf with the SDH Network logo on it. You can get it through them, or if you want it directly from us, just reach out to me. I've got 2 in Office HD before I have to get another order of 50, and then we can start. I have to send one actually to Birmingham, Michigan, and I got to do that today when I go to the mainland. So get it through them, get it directly from me. Reach out, we'll make it happen. If you check out the site, you might notice a familiar face in the promo photos or on Maddie Cruz modeling the scarf. And so this is what growing the game everywhere really looks like, and you can do that through our friends at the Marshall Islands. Also, one quick note about South Island. They have a player for another country that is starting in Micronesia to try and develop a national team program, Niue, and it's NIUE, and it's not like Northern Illinois University, Edwardsville, or anything like that. It is literally NIUE, Niue. And Jalen Rodwell is representing Niue as their first professional footballer. And so we're going to try and catch up with him as the season goes along as well. So we're kind of lining up interviews and getting the lay of the land when it comes to the OFC Pro League. But thanks again to everybody at South Island United, so we could catch up with David Yoo before practice and find out what's going on there with them. Another couple of moves that are going on this morning. Washington Spirit and the NWSL, and this is going to be like leagues, and I'm going to be bouncing all over the place because these are the emails and the notifications that I get. Washington Spirit have signed Canadian defender Elizabeth Say from Le Havre of the French Premier League, and she joins on a 3-year deal option for a 29-team option. As a part of the move, the Spirit will pay a transfer fee to Le Havre. Third season with Le Havre, appeared in almost 50 matches for the Normandy-based club across league and Coupe de France Féminine play. On the international stage, competed at the youth national team level for Canada, appeared in 2 matches for Canada at the 2022 U20 Women's World Cup. Originally from Quebec City, attended SMU for a year, 1,600 minutes and 19 matches, 2+3. All-American Athletic Conference second team and all-rookie for Elizabeth Say. And so now she is heading to Washington Spirit. Chattanooga Football Club have signed midfielder Kenneth Soakley, and he joins from the highly regarded Right to Dream Academy on a 1-year deal with a club option for 1 more, pending federation and league approval. Right to Dream Academy, founded on the belief every young athlete deserves a chance to chase their dreams, and has since produced top global talent on professional and international stages. Sebastian Giraldo, and we caught up with him in the past about the kind of talent that he's looking for. This looks like this is right up his alley. So Kenneth Chokely, 5'6" midfielder from Accra, Ghana, who is will be 19 in April, and comes from the Right to Dream Academy on a 1+1. That's Kenneth Chokely, so we'll keep an eye on him with Chattanooga FC. Also on the board, Houston Dynamo has signed Santos captain Guilherme from Brazil. He's going to occupy a DP spot and joins on a full transfer from Santos through the 27-28 season with a club option for 28-29. So it's a 2+1 with Guilherme coming from Santos to Houston Dynamo. He had 14+9 for Santos and captained the Brazilian club to the semis of the Campeonato Paulista and a successful relegation battle in Serie A. 30 years old, he's won domestic trophies, including Copa do Brasil and Saudi's King Cup as a leader in successful promotion and relegation battles. Obviously, this is dependent upon the receipt of the ITC, the International Transfer Certificate, and the P1 visa. He will occupy a DP slot. So 30 years old from Sao Paulo, Brazil, 5'10", 160, coming in from Santos Futebol Clube. And so it is a 2+1 for Guilherme as he works his way from Santos to the Houston Dynamo. And you end up with a quote from Pat Onstad as a part of all of that. And so let's see. All right, so it looks like, okay, so hang on. We might actually get to work our way through and fill there as well. So yeah, hang on just a second. All right, so we got our wires crossed. So we're back to tomorrow for the AC Boise and Nate Miller. So all right, so that will be 10:30 tomorrow will be Nate Miller and AC Boise. So we were getting wires crossed on travel and things like that. So it will be tomorrow, 10:30. We will catch up with Nate Miller and find out what is going on at AC Boise as we go. All right. So what we'll do is we will. I feel like I need to be like Ross now. We need to pivot, and we'll find out what's going on. All right, so we'll take the tour and let you know what else is going on with news and notes and all those other kinds of things. So, all right, so tomorrow it is going to be like this. Tomorrow is going to be a conversation that we're going to have in the 9 o'clock hour. And it will be a conversation that carries off of what happened with our high schoolers, with our high school coach yesterday, last week, Cody Case and Valdosta. So, yes, add contact. So, and so literally I'm having to, let's see, Krista. All right. And like I said, I'm doing this live on the air, so I apologize. Okay. Let's see, hang on. I'm producing and I'm trying to talk to you at the same time. Okay. All right. So last week, you might remember that we had a conversation with Cody Case at Valdosta High School. And last Friday, they were getting ready for their clinic that they were going to have with other coaches on Saturday. So it is a way for us to catch up with Cody and find out how the clinic went and if there were any coaches that were in that same boat with him. Because we have in these situations where it is a first-year head coach in any situation, you're trying to find out what the lay of the land is. You know what your challenges are going to be going in. And it is one of those things where you have this kind of a clinic and you kind of get to share notes with everyone else that's around you. Hey, I'm going through those same kinds of things. Hey, I'm having the same issues when it comes to finding sponsors, having the same issues when it comes to making sure that I can have kids come out, and we've got a decent amount of kids who are trying out. And it got to the point with Cody where he got through that. Team that's there, and you end up with all of the questions that are associated with those first-year programs and such. And so it was one of those ideas where, okay, so if we have this clinic, then what we'll do is we will kind of break bread and we'll share what's going on. And so this is like the post-mortem of that particular clinic. And hopefully Cody can bring some friends with him and we can see really what the compared notes were like when it came to anything and everything that was brought up at the clinic, whether it's talent level, whether it's numbers, it's game day operations, sponsors, getting noticed in the community, all those kinds of things, philosophy. And so we're going to catch up with Cody tomorrow and find out about what happened at the clinic, find out who learned some lessons, and hopefully Cody will bring some other fellow coaches with that were a part of that learning experience last Saturday, and that'll be in the 9 o'clock hour tomorrow. Then it'll be Dylan Butler, the busiest man in the Northeast, and we're going to catch up with him and find out what's going on there with Dylan. Then, as we mentioned, we have the interview with Terry McFlynn, the director of football from Auckland FC, and that will be a part of the dynamic once again as our coverage continues with the OFC Pro League. And we kind of fell into that one yesterday. Literally, it was an opportunity that was presented to us. We were in the middle of doing all of our other interviews, and the other one, and Auckland reaches out, "Hey, can you catch up with Terry?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. When?" "In an hour." "Okay." So then it ended up going that way. So we ended up with a lot of interviews yesterday, and we will catch up with Terry McFlynn, the director of football at Auckland FC, tomorrow, and we'll find out what is on. We'll find out what's on his mind as he juggles multiple teams and multiple leagues and all that kind of stuff. And so tomorrow is going to be the coaches roundtable, or the high school coaches feedback session. Then it's going to be Terry McFlynn, director of football, Auckland FC. Hopefully the busiest man in the Northeast, Dylan Butler. And then Nate Miller, the head coach at AC Boise, is going to be joining us at 10:30. And then we will get you ready for anything and everything that is attached to all of that. So that is that's where we are today as we get you ready for anything and everything going on tomorrow. And then Thursday, the power hour is the same with Nino and Nico. And when the nonsense that happened with Xabi Alonso happened yesterday with Real Madrid, I literally get a note from Nino Torres in our WhatsApp groups. And it was something that Nino Damas had predicted. And it was one of those where all the chaos that happened in the Supercopa, where Real Madrid doesn't give a guard of honor. They all go over by the coach, and you wonder, okay, who really is in charge here? And just all of that chaos and personified the larger issues apparently that were there. And you have Real Madrid letting go of Xabi Alonso and not exhibiting any patience in the matter. But I guess obviously you sit there and the sky is falling. You're like Kevin in Home Alone, and all of your world is falling down around you, and you end up with all of that going on. And so literally as we had gotten off the air yesterday, it was literally one of those moments with you're in the car and you're going, come on, man. Sure enough, that's what went down. And so now Arbeloa is the head coach for the moment. And honestly, if you are Manchester United, I would think that on line one, and I don't know how much of the $27 or $28 million that was left on the table, 2.5 years left on the deal for Xabi Alonso. I don't know how much of that he gets, but $28 million was in the balance. Not that he really needs it, mind you, but it was one of those situations where, okay, Xabi Alonso, hey, look, if I'm Manchester United, and the noises that you probably heard in the background once Xabi Alonso was let go by Real Madrid were our Drew Dickinson sitting there and pointing at Xabi, and he's pointing at Old Trafford, pointing at Xabi, he's going, ooh, 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 ooh. Look, quoting our Jared Smith, you know, if you're Manchester United, you want to make that phone call. But what's it worth to Sir Jim Ratcliffe? Is he going to be the individual that sits there and goes, yep, we got to bite the bullet on this one? You know that there are some folks that want to sit there and go, yeah, we need to dial up Xabi Alonso like yesterday. So it's going to be it is going to be the Palace intrigue in that one is very, very high. So we'll see what's going on what's going on with that. According to U.S. Soccer, Joe Dickerson is the U.S. Soccer's male referee of the year. Comment left alone. I'm not saying a word. Another couple of teams with acquisitions before we get into all the other news and things that are going on. Sporting Jacks looks like they have added on their women's side. Christiana Roque is on loan from Racing Louisville. Casey Smekrud is arriving from Åland United in Finland. And Julia Lester is joining permanently after her loan from Seattle Reign. So those pieces came in this morning. Racing Louisville announcing that Christina is joining after joining Racing in June of 25 in a trade from Utah Royals. She hasn't appeared in a competitive match with Racing Louisville, and so now she's going to Sporting Jacks on loan. Sergio Gonzalez with a quote, the keeper coach for Racing. And Racing keepers have spent time away from the club on loan for development over the years. Jordan Bloomer went to Australia in 2022. Caitlin Flores-Milby has a quote, Racing's GM. Sporting Jacks is in the midst of their Super League season, fall to spring. Right now, they lead the league with a record of 7-3-4 and 25 points. Next matchup in the Super League season is on the 31st because they're in mid-season break right now. So any transactions that you see are mid-season break transactions involving USL Super League teams. Roque was a college star at Florida State, two-time national champ, All-American with the Seminoles, ended her career all-time record holder in both wins and shutouts in the NCAA tournament, native of Winter Garden, Florida, representing Puerto Rico internationally. So that is the note there involving a loan deal and Sporting Jacks. And so early thoughts on Xabi Alonso as to where he could go. Liverpool, obviously. Manchester City, and Manchester United, 3. Spurs, 4. And Bayern Munich, 5. So those are the top 5 that were given by our friends at The Athletic as to where Xabi Alonso could go if he felt so inclined when it came to anything and everything that is attached to his next move. But would it really be would it really be a move for him? Mario Cortagana and Guillermo Rai. This came out in The Athletic attached to the Xabi Alonso story. Real Madrid, and this is the headline. Real Madrid hand fitness coach Antonio Pintus, more prominent role after Xabi Alonso's sacking. Let me read that. Let me read that headline again. Real Madrid hand fitness. Oh, sorry, I read it wrong. Never mind. I was thinking that. See, now this is the problem. I'm sitting there and I'm looking at that headline and I'm going, they have a hand fitness coach? No, I was wrong. They are handing. See, this is what happens. This is what happens when you don't choose a participle correctly. You go verb instead of participle. Says the son of an English major. They're handing Antonio Pintus. See, if Real Madrid this is a letter. All you need is one letter. Hands, present tense. The whole active verb tense here instead of passive voice, active voice. If you add a letter to that headline, I'm probably the only person that was confused, but still, nevertheless, Real Madrid hand. This is about punctuation and add letters and active voice. Literally. So here's the headline. Real Madrid hand fitness coach Antonio Pintus more prominent role after Xabi Alonso's sacking. That's the headline. If you add a letter, you take all of that stuff that I was discussing with you out of play. Real Madrid hands fitness coach Antonio Pintus more prominent role after Xabi Alonso's sacking. Active voice, passive voice, dual meaning. I legitimately there until I was reading the headline and then went into the article. I legitimately thought that there was a hand fitness coach. Maybe it was something wrong with the keepers and their wrists weren't strong enough or something like that. So apparently Antonio Pintus is going to have a more active role now that Xabi Alonso has been sacked. Was that hard? Returned to a key role in the day-to-day physical training of the first team after the dismissal of Xabi Alonso. 7-month tenure mutual agreement, and Castilla's, which is Madrid's reserve team. Coach Alvaro Arbeloa replacing his Madrid, Liverpool, and Spain teammate. And that is once again not, but it's officially official, but when the article came out, it had not been. Pintus had been a physical trainer under previous coaches Ancelotti and Zidane, but took a back seat after Alonso's appointment last year on a 3-year deal, as Alonso brought his own staff with him. It included fitness coach Ismael Caminforte, who had worked with him at Bayer Leverkusen. Pintus was then appointed, quote, performance manager, despite rumors in Spanish media that he would leave, rejecting outside offers. Athletic reported at the time Madrid had informed the Italian they wanted him to continue with the club. Role has varied, working in other areas, making himself available to help the coach and his staff wherever it was necessary. Was not involved in the squad in training sessions or matches, wearing a suit instead of a tracksuit during games. Florentino Perez continued to trust him. At the end of the year, approached injuries mounted. Perez became increasingly keen for Pintus to return into the spotlight. In early January, in response to Madrid's injury problems, Perez handed Dr. Niko Mihic a more important role. Mihic had been sidelined from his role as head of medical services back in November 23, and so it was a very presidential decision. Florentino really thinks that Pintus is the secret to winning Champions League. He even returned as physical trainer in Ancelotti's second spell in 21, following a personal call from Florentino Perez. The board had been very concerned for some time now about the team's physical condition. This comes from, once again, Cortegana and Rai at The Athletic. Cases that showed that the situation was far from ideal, with the team hosting Manchester City in December with 7 players out due to injury and Mbappe unable to play despite being on the bench. There were also problems when Mihic and Pintus previously had a more prominent role, something which seems difficult to avoid to various factors, including Madrid's busy schedule. Club wants to put an end to the spat of injuries Madrid have continued to suffer. Remains to be seen how this will work out under Arbeloa, who has been accompanied until now at Castilla by a highly skilled and diverse training staff that includes other physical individuals. So there you go. Let's see. You have other headlines this morning. Oh, okay. Remember when Gabon crashed out of AFCON? When Gabon crashed out of AFCON, remember what the Gabonese government did? And basically banned the roster from existing anymore. Basically, we're dissolving all of you. And you banned 2 players, 137 and 136. One of them, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and the other was your team captain. The Gabonese government banned them all. It's like, you're all done, and you 2 senior guys, you're banned at the age of 36 and 37, like they would be playing in maybe other competitions, but they wouldn't be playing for a World Cup anyway, because they'd be 40 and 41 in the cycle to qualify. So that ban lasted 12 days. The ban lasted 12 days. Colin Miller, the Gabonese government has lifted its suspension after the AFCON campaign, according to the Gabonese Football Federation. And apparently, and this I did not know, the statement that was released by the Gabonese government was read on national television. How'd you find out? Well, it was read on national TV. National team had been suspended after a disgraceful performance at AFCON. Name-checked Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and international captain Bruno Ekwele-Manga, banned from selection. So now the government measures on the team had been lifted, and Aubameyang and Ekwele-Manga are no longer excluded. Gabon's new sports minister, Paul Ulrich Kesseny, who was appointed in a cabinet reshuffle after the previous team ban, told FIFA Foot of the, quote, urgency of upcoming events, particularly the draw for the 27 AFCON qualifiers. Kesseny instructed FEGAFOOT to, quote, take the necessary steps to present him with all the practical details for selecting a new coaching staff. They finished at the bottom of Group F with 1-goal losses to Cameroon, Mozambique, and Ivory Coast. Remember, they had a 2-0 lead against Ivory Coast match day 3 and lost it. So they were out from the tournament. So Aubameyang, Gabon's all-time leading goal scorer. Ekwele Manga is their most capped player. Gabon will not compete at this summer's World Cup once again after losing to Nigeria, who themselves went on to lose to DR Congo. Thierry Muyumba's side won 8 of 10 group qualification matches, finished a point behind Ivory Coast, and the head coach and his staff were removed following the government statement. Vegafoot said they had been instructed by the sports ministry, quote, to take the necessary steps to present for selecting a new coaching staff. So the Gabonese suspension of Ekwele Manga and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, 12 days. 12 days. So 10, 2, 12 days. So, yes, 12 days and you're done. And we're back. So, once again, Michael Carrick, for those of you that missed it, and it is Michael Carrick is going to be the caretaker manager, the interim manager through the end of the year. Now, the 40-game season for Manchester United is a new low. They're going to play 40 matches across their 25-26 campaign, making it the shortest season in 111 years. 111 years, not competing for any silverware in 25-26. The loss to Brighton on Sunday makes this the first season since 81-82 that Manchester United have been eliminated from both domestic cups in their opening match. Carabao Cup elimination against Grimsby Town in August. Then Old Trafford noticeably quiet for the Brighton FA Cup tie. So Darren Fletcher's, once again, time as caretaker manager, didn't give you the bump that you were looking for, like Ruud van Nistelrooy or Michael Carrick. It goes back to the U18s. Third season in a row, which United have reached a historical low point. Victory in the 2024 FA Cup final when they finished 8th, the lowest in the Premier League at that time. Before defeat in Europa League. Then 24-25, you finished 15th. Ineos's Project 150 has Manchester United allegedly on track to win the title. The aspirational aspect of Ineos 150 was to have the title by 2028. And so, obviously, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not gaining any favors or any fans. Injuries in AFCON haven't helped out either. Bruno Fernandes, Lisandro Martinez. You have other absences as well. You look at Benjamin Sesko helping out and getting the brace. But the larger question is, what do you do now? And so that's what you're kind of staring at involving that particular sport and that particular club. It's going to be crazy. And once again, the screaming that you hear traditionally is our friend Drew Dickinson when it comes to all of this. So any and all of these ideas that you see out of Manchester United, basically it's going to be a wait and see. We mentioned AFCON, and the Confederation has launched an investigation into alleged unacceptable behavior during Nigeria's victory against Algeria and Morocco's win over Cameroon. Statement released, CAF said it had collected match reports and video evidence, quote, indicating potentially unacceptable behavior, end quote, from players and officials in both quarterfinals. Incidents have been referred to the disciplinary board, CAF calling for appropriate action for anyone found guilty of wrongdoing. Players from both sides had to be separated at full time after Nigeria beat Algeria 2-0 in Marrakesh on Saturday. Algeria's players surrounded the referee, Issa Sai, followed him as he walked down the tunnel. A statement from CAF, they strongly condemn any appropriate behavior which occurs during matches, especially those targeting the refereeing team or match organizers. Appropriate actions will be sought against anyone whose behavior is not consistent with professional conduct at CAF events. Shortly after that, Algeria's federation released a post on social stating it had contacted the CAF to raise a complaint about the center ref and his officiating team. And here's what they said. Algerian Football Federation cannot overlook the refereeing decisions in the last match, which raised questions and left widespread dissatisfaction as they undermine the credibility of African refereeing and do not serve the image of African football on the international stage. Accordingly, the Algerian Football Federation has contacted CAF as well as the IFF, the International Football Federation, by filing an official complaint accompanied by a request to open an investigation in order to clarify what happened, take appropriate measures in accordance with the applicable regulations, end quote. So Morocco beats Cameroon 2-0. Once again, refereeing decisions coming to the fore. Second half, Adam Messina appeared to make clear contact with Brian Mbeumo, but Cameroon was not awarded a penalty. Messina also appeared to elbow Carl Etta-Eyong when they competed for an aerial duel, but he was awarded a free kick. David Pagu, the head coach of Cameroon, didn't discuss anything specific. Africa is good. This is after the match. He says, Africa is full of good referees, and my stance remains. Yes, there could be some mistakes here and there, but the fact remains the referee is the ultimate master of the game. They don't make mistakes intentionally. Morocco's head coach, Walid Regraoui, says people try to make us feel or perpetrate certain rumors as though we receive any favors from the refs. CAF said it's also reviewing footage following an incident in the mixed zone where members of the media allegedly misbehaved. Don't know what that means. Morocco gets Nigeria tomorrow for a place in the AFCON final. Winner gets either Egypt or Senegal. So you've got all of that going on. Orlando Pride have hired Caitlin Carducci as GM and VP of soccer operations. That happening within the last hour, basically. Currently, the former general manager of Kansas City Current led the Current through the 25 season. So Carducci comes over from Kansas City. As Gotham beat them as the 8, once again, injuries late in the year. When you catch up with our friend Casey White, she'll be the one to tell you it was late season injuries. You don't have time to adjust. You could have had a historic season and everything, but the 8th seed Gotham knocked you out. 5 days later, the club had announced they parted ways with Carducci after they lose in the first round of the playoffs. Sure, okay. I don't know what one necessarily has to do with the other, but you end up with Vlatko Andonovski going upstairs, and then you end up with Chris Armas coming in as the new head coach. The intrigue in Kansas City is going to be very, very high. Orlando was without a GM since November after Haley Carter left the club to go to Washington Spirit. And so Carter, the Pride's outgoing GM, considered one of the best GMs in the NWSL. Last year, Pride made it to the semis after losing Barbara Bonda to injury, and then they were eliminated by Gotham as well. So Carducci first joined the Current in 23 as player of soccer operations before interim GM in May of 24, helped acquire top stars like Lorena and Ali Sentner, and was there for the contract renewals, specifically of players like Temwa Shawinga. So now you bring in Caitlin Carducci to be a part of what's going on with Orlando, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But remember, we talked about it yesterday. Orlando let go of Emily Sams because she wanted to go someplace else. Pride ended up getting $650,000 in Berman bucks from Angel City in exchange for the player. Club record figure, second highest total in league history, and a record sum for a defender. Pride brought on other defenders in likely anticipation, including Haley Mace from Kansas City and Hannah Anderson from Chicago. News on Chicago in a second. This was all before Carducci showed up, though. Obviously, the immediate goal is to win the championship in 26. Elizabeth Jackie Ovalle acquired for a world record fee last year through the 27 season, option for 28. Carducci admitted Ovalle was a player on her short list. And we mentioned Chicago, and it looks like Chicago might be playing at Ryan Field. And that would be interesting. Frankly, for me, if you played on the Lakeshore, on the Lakeshore at Northwestern, that to me would be really cool if you could do that. And you end up with I want to double check this. So Ryan Field at Northwestern. So the new football stadium opening in the fall, new design, smaller capacity of 35,000. So, I mean, I could see, I could see them there. I mean, frankly, if you wanted to go into a place like that, 35,000, I like that number. And it also gives Northwestern another tenant in that building that is half the size of Soldier Field. No offense meant to Soldier Field on the waterfront, but $35,000 for Chicago, which is a franchise that is trying to work its way from the bottom of the table. I think that's a solid play. And if you fill the lower bowl, if you fill and you get 20, 21, 22,000, you still have room to grow there. And so I think that if the Ryan Field idea for Chicago Stars comes to pass, I think that's a great idea. Frankly, you know, I didn't know what the capacity for the Riverfront Stadium is. I think it was like 10. I would have thought something there might be a good idea, but if you want to go to Ryan and continue the relationship with Northwestern University, I can see that. So I get that, and I'm there with you. I understand where that goes. So you have that particular piece of information that is there as well. Saliba and Trossard are doubts against Chelsea. Calafiore remains out for weeks, according to Mikel Arteta, as they get ready for the semifinal first leg against Chelsea. Neither Saliba nor Trossard were in the squad for the win over Pompey on Sunday, and Arteta told reporters those two are doubts because they're not fit enough. So keep an eye on that as we get ready for Carabao Cup. Let's take a tour of the papers, let you know what's going on here. Stories that we might have missed, and let you know what's going on there. So when you check out everything, nothing like updating an app as you go, right? So around the planet, obviously, you've got all the news that we got into this morning with NWSL and players and shifting and all of that stuff. So it will be intriguing. The NWSL on a bunch of different fronts. We talked about the Lindsay Heaps pickup by Denver yesterday for Denver Summit, and I thought that was a fantastic pickup for them. And obviously, in a couple of published reports, it wasn't just about the idea of going to Denver, since that's where she's from, Golden, Colorado, 81009. It was about going for this opportunity that happened to be in Denver. So I think that's kind of what you're looking at as opposed to anything else, is that it was an opportunity to go to Denver to play, not to go to Denver and play. So there's, you know, like I said, that whole thing about that one letter can be an absolute difference there that's attached to it. Okay, this might have qualified for opening kickoff. I didn't know about this one, so this one's new to me, and when we're learning as we go. From The Guardian, and it's under the subheading of football violence, and this is from PA Media. A football fan who left his own player with a, quote, severe injury after throwing part of a seat during a Scottish Premiership football match has been jailed for 18 months. I don't think that's enough necessarily, but okay. David Gowans identified threw the projectile onto the pitch after a league match between Dundee United and Aberdeen at Dundee United on May 17th. It struck Aberdeen's Jack McKenzie, who had gone to the area of the ground in front of the traveling fans to thank them for their support. The defender, now with Plymouth Argyle, suffered a deep 2-inch laceration to his left eyebrow and a 5-centimeter abrasion below his left eye, and has been left permanently disfigured, in quotation marks. Gowan's father of one, who'd been working as an offshore operator at the time, had been a member of the Aberdeen Ultras supporters group, admitted culpable and reckless conduct in October. Handing down his sentence at Dundee Sheriff Court on Monday, Sheriff Alistair Carmichael told Gowans, "Your actions were selfish, stupid, dangerous, and utterly irresponsible. You must have known that by throwing this item, it could hit somebody. If you didn't consider this possibility, the level of recklessness is staggering." Sheriff Carmichael also told there was a bigger picture to the incident and that it happened at a football match and could have triggered further disorder in the crowd. At an earlier hearing, the court was shown CCTV footage, which showed McKenzie lying on the pitch for some minutes after being struck, being attended to by medical staff, taken off the pitch in a wheelchair. Footage showed a large number of Dundee United fans on the pitch nearby celebrating their team's win. There is no, and this is Sheriff Carmichael again, there is no reasonable alternative to a custodial sentence. This is needed because of the gravity of this crime, and it's needed in order to adequately punish you and adequately express the public disapproval of this behavior and discourage others from behaving in a similar fashion. Football banning order is also in place, banning him from attending football matches for 10 years, which he pointed out was the maximum period that I can impose. Lifetime ban from Aberdeen as well. I love to know how that's going to get enforced, but that's just me. Earlier, Gowan's lawyer told the court his client had been inebriated at the time he threw the chair and that he was so drunk he missed the supporters bus home to Aberdeen and had to get a taxi. The gentleman was extremely embarrassed by the incident and that he accepts he let himself down and he let his football club down. At an earlier hearing, Dundee Sheriff Court was shown text messages Gowan sent to Aberdeen supporters liaison officer Lynn Fisk, in which he admitted he'd thrown the seat. In one message, which was shown in court, he said he, quote, wasn't aiming at anything or anyone, and that the section of the seat had just been there right next to me. In another message, he said it had been a disastrous mistake. Well, yes, that is absolutely true. That is what we refer to as not a genius move. And you got what you deserved. Frankly, I wish it would have been more. Wish it would have been more. You got a lifetime ban from Aberdeen, great. You need a lifetime ban, period. But once again, to get into the whole enforcement idea, and that to me is the issue. Yeah, David, he did own it. Yeah, he did own it. He's still just, it needs to be nowhere near a football pitch, period. But I always get into the whole thing. If you ban a fan, how are you going to enforce it? Facial recognition, wanted poster, poster with the red circle and a line through it. If you see this man, I mean, he could go Bobby Valentine and go fake mustache and whatever, and he could try to get his way into a stadium. Being jailed for 18 months, that's a good start. But if he ever starts jonesing to go back for another game, how are you going to enforce it? That would be the biggest thing for me. Hey, different name. Sure is great to see you here. It's been a long time. Wearing glasses, fake mustache, whatever, wig. Like I said, I'd love to know how they enforce these kinds of things. Just as a general rule, I'd love to know how these things are enforced. Also, one other moment, Qatar is in talks with FIFA to host the first Women's Club World Cup in January of 28. This comes from Matt Hughes. And it would be in line to cause, right now, major disruption to domestic seasons in 27-28. Would take place from the 5th to the 30th of January in 2028. But the governing body hasn't said where it would be held and whether it will run a formal bidding process. Qatar's expression of interest is the most recent in a long line of tournament bids after it won the 22 World Cup finals, and they have maintained close relations with FIFA. FIFA Intercontinental Cup was held in Al Rayyan last month, PSG and Flamengo. Second edition of the Finalissima between European champions Spain and South American champs is going to take place in Doha in March. Qatar expressed interest in staging the Club World Cup in 29. FIFA has decided the tournament will take place in the Northern Hemisphere summer, so it has been shelved, and Morocco and Spain are regarded as the most likely hosts as a dry run for the 2030 World Cup. Taking the first Women's Club World Cup to Qatar, obviously the controversies that are attached with the country's stance on certain issues. Women's national team formed in 2009, but after an initial burst of fixtures, they have not played an official match for 12 years and do not have a FIFA ranking. Ready-made stadiums, dates, things like that. Saudi Arabia is another possible option, according to Hughes, but it committed to hosting the four-team Spanish Super Cup in January of 28. FIFA sources said it has yet to receive formal bids and declined to discuss the nature of any bidding process. No clash with Champions League. Many domestic European leagues affected may have to introduce a longer winter break. Australia, Mexico, and Japanese leagues, among others, established domestic competitions likely to be affected. First Women's Club World Cup features 16 teams, at least 5 from Europe, 2 each, Asia, Africa, South America, North America, club from each of those 5 confederations, 1 from Oceania, will play in a qualifying tournament to determine the final 3 spots. FIFA has yet to determine its entry criteria, but Arsenal, as Champions League winners last year, expect to be involved competition due to take place every 4 years. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go. One quick note: the Daniel Edelman transaction is now officially official. From St. Louis to St. Louis City SC from Red Bulls. It is $500,000 in 2026 GAM, $200,000 in 27 GAM, and Red Bulls could receive up to another $150,000 in conditional GAM if performance metrics are met, and Red Bulls get a future sell-on percentage as well. Quote from Sporting Director Corey Ray, Warren, New Jersey native, and 22 years old, 5'10", 160 from Red Bulls. And so that is now officially official as well when it comes to all of that. The CAF and AFCON have now released the 27 preliminary round qualifiers as well. And that is where that looks like. So Daniel Edelman officially official for St. Louis City SC as we move forward from Red Bulls. So there you go with all of that. Okay, so that is, hopefully because he admitted it, he'll respect the authority. David, you hope. Going back to the Aberdeen moment. So you hope that the individual would. You'd hope that he realizes the catastrophic mistake that he made and going forward what it would be like. But we'll see what it looks like. Let me make another quick tour through the papers and see if we missed anything this morning. Once again, remember, tomorrow it's going to be a stacked show with everything that is going to be working with the high school coaches. We're going to have our high school roundtable, and we're going to find out what's going on there and what they might have learned from the clinic that was held in South Georgia. And we'll kind of just we'll just kind of have a workshop. We'll kind of workshop the issues that we're seeing these days involving either South Georgia or smaller classification high schools. And we'll kind of sit there and for those particular coaches, we'll see if they learned anything from the summit on Saturday and what other questions they have. And we can just turn it into a bit of a session where everybody gets to kind of find out about things and find out about themselves. So that'll be in hour number 1. Then, obviously, as we are tracking down busiest man in the Northeast in Dylan Butler, we'll see if he can join us at 10 o'clock. Then we also have, once again, remember, Director of Football Terry McFlynn from Auckland FC in hour number 2. And we also at 10:30 will be joined by Nate Miller, the head coach at AC Boise, and we will get that conversation going about what it's like to build something from scratch. And we'll find out where it is. We'll find out where it is with him as he continues to go. The 4th round draw was made for the FA Cup, by the way. For those of you that might not have seen it, the ties will be played between the 13th and the 16th of February. Arsenal, Wigan, Villa, Newcastle, Birmingham City, Leeds, Burnley, Mansfield Town, Burton Albion, West Ham, Grimsby and Wolves, Hull City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Brighton, Macclesfield and Brentford. Interesting matchup there. Don't expect a whole lot of goals. Manchester City versus Salford or Swindon, because that one, remember, was postponed because of frozen pitch. They have to play that one. Norwich and West Brom, Oxford United, Sunderland, Port Vale, Bristol City, Southampton, Leicester, Stoke, Fulham, Wrexham, and Ipswich. And so we are efforting interviews out of Macclesfield. So we'll be keeping you up to date on that, and we're also trying to catch up on a couple of different interviews overseas. And so we'll keep you posted on all of that as we go here. But a stacked day tomorrow on a bunch of different fronts. It's high school, it's Oceania, it's MLS, and it's USL League One with AC Boise. We want to thank everybody that dropped in today. Steve Cooke from Lexington SC, and it was David Yoo from South Island United. It was great to see the two of them, and great to catch up with the two of them as well on a Tuesday. So once again, busy day tomorrow. It is high school, it is MLS, it is Oceania, and it is USL League One, all in one place on a Wall Pass Wednesday, and it will be fun. Power Hour once again on Thursday, Nino and Nico, 10 and 10:30, and then Friday will get you ready for the weekend and we'll get you prepped, and we'll see if we can have some of those guests that we were discussing joining us from places both hither and yon. We'll see if they can come in and join us going forward, and we'll see if they can join us on Friday to close out our week and get you ready for the weekend. It's another go-round of SDH AM here on the Soccer Down Here Network, 9:05 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. And like I said, I think I'm gradually gaining the levels for these fill lights that are basically lamps from other rooms here as the boss and I spend our week here on the beach. And so I can't thank you guys for hanging out with us. Once again, thanks to our friends from Lexington who were a part of the early part of the show. And don't be a stranger and come back anytime. For everybody here at SDH, I'm just John. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do, and being a part of SDH AM Season 10 of the SDH Network, starting here this week. Back at it again in less than 22 hours. And since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Back at it again, 9:05 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow.